Gamers, it's time. It's time for the tier list. Fashionably late, okay? I wanted to do this weeks ago, but you know what? I just didn't do it, but now we are doing it. And look, I even brought, look at this. I brought these beautiful new icons, so it will be even more aesthetically pleasing to the eye here. And I think this is going to be quite good because we have a major balance patch coming up, actually, at the end of the month. So let's do a tier list now. Let's see where things are now, and then we can do another tier list afterwards to see if it gets shaken up a lot. Wow, very exciting. As always, I'm going to be dividing things into the 3 basic roles that Guild Wars 2 has for group content, which is going to be offensive support, defensive support, and just damage dealers. And again, my tier lists are typically going to be leaning towards consistency, win rate, right, carry potential, all that kind of stuff. That's the type of build that I think is really, really good. So that's kind of the context for this tier list. I will certainly be considering just outright absurd output and crazy performance in these builds, but this is not really a speedrun tier list, which would look a little bit different. This is very much a tier list aimed at general group usage. So example would be stuff like fractals, strike missions, raids, and open world, right? For bosses, right? Like for what, like group events, you know, Octavine, Chat Garant, right? Dragon's End, like the big group events. Like that is what this tier list is all about, is when you're with other players, it's a group environment. The power level of the game right now is insane, right? It is really, really high. We're not going to need, B tier. We don't need this. What is this? Okay, we're just going straight to, you know, gold tier to S tier, then A tier, right? And then C, honestly, this is going to be copium tier, and then D tier is probably going to be not yet tier, as in, you know, like you've got to wait for the next patch pretty much to see if anything's going to happen with that. But anyway, let's get into it. Let's start off with offensive supports. And let's see. I kind of want to rename some of the tiers because I like it. It's kind of funny. But look, let's not mess about here. In my opinion, especially given some of the considered nerfs to Firebrand, actually, even though Herald did get slightly nerfed down, just a touch, right, with the Facet of Nature going down to 5 targets instead of 10, it is absolutely still up there, complete S tier. I view this as pound for pound, one of the strongest builds in the game, if not the strongest build in the game. Quickness, might, fury, swiftness, protection, oodles of damage, great CC, very durable, can take stability as well if you need to for a pretty minimal loss. Herald is amazing. Power Quickness Herald, God tier build, God tier. This build is amazing. I love it. Play it everywhere. Actually, incredibly good for open world meta events, actually. This is like the Omega carry build for open world meta events. And kind of in that kind of same vein, by the way, Mechanist. Alacrity Mechanist is kind of like the other side of the coin, right? From Quickness Herald. Insane build. Loads of CC, has amazing boon access, including stability and Aegis, gives 25 might, by the way, alongside Alacrity, fully range damage, has a really nice heal skill with Healing Turret, too, can take loads of utility, has Shift Signet. This build is, to be honest, absolutely broken. It is also going there in God tier. It hasn't moved. Nothing has changed. It is absolutely insane. Mechanist, God tier. And then, I think those are the only 2 I'd put in God tier. In S tier is going to be Firebrand, Scrapper, and I think Specter as well. Actually, these builds, honestly, just incredibly good. Not quite the crazy dominance, in my opinion, of Herald and Alacrity Mechanist, but still unbelievably strong in their own right. Firebrand in particular is just packed with utility. Scrapper is unkillable, has great CC, very high damage. This is a monster. This is a monstrous build, actually. In terms of the damage output that it can have, it's a power build too, which really helps. Really, really nice. And even has some revival stuff it can do too. Really versatile, underrated build, actually. Very, very good. And the super speed is super nice as well. Very good. Very, very good too. Firebrand still has all the good utility. You can do Aegis, you can do stability. You do very respectable damage, despite what everyone says. It still pumps pretty damn hard, especially on the fights where it's good. Just a bit more situational these days. And Spectre, again, very high damage, very high CC. Does lack that cleave a little bit, but I think really makes up for it from what it does well, which is very good very respectable single target damage, and loads of CC, and a lot of support too, because you run Ritualist gear on this, and whenever you leave Shroud, you consume all your Shroud, and that heals nearby allies or even overcaps them onto barrier. Incredibly good. I could maybe demote Spectre down to A tier, but I really like it because I think it's got some really nice carry potential. Despite its playability issues, it has really nice carry potential. Also gives swiftness, a good chunk of might, and fury and vigor as well, which is some pretty solid boon access, which is something where Scrapper, I think, kind of falls down a little bit in my opinion. But anyway, there's S tier. A tier, I'm putting Harbinger here because, and you know what? I'm really tempted to throw a bone to the Harb players and put this in S because this build pumps. However, again, with the way that I evaluate things, I kind of think, does it do anything else, though? It can take a utility skill pretty easily, to be honest. And you do have the Elite Elixir, which can be used in a pinch for a little bit of group support, a little bit of a helping hand. However, I really don't think it has the robust group support potential that the stuff in S tier and God tier currently have, but really high damage. And actually, if you're looking to push your performance, if you're looking to kind of do a fast kill, that's where Harbinger can really come into its own, because this build blasts. Extremely good if you're in a very experienced group, or again, you're looking to push some times. Very, very good, actually. And honestly, a lot more fun to play. I was really impressed by the patch. It's a simple change. They just basically increased the Blight generation pretty much, but it made Harbinger way more fun to play and way better at the same time. Wow. That's crazy, right? Like, what a... Oh, you love to see that. Coming in as well is actually, you know what? Listen, people are going to be so mad at me for doing this, but Chrono is actually pretty good. It is more good in the high-end scenarios, so this is why I wouldn't rate it higher. It's more good for very organized play, where you want to kind of pack all of your Mesmer utility into your quickness at the same time. So bear that in mind. For general use, this can be a bit wonky. It can be a bit weird to fit into the group. But in general, actually a lot better than people give it credit for. It's been kind of creeping up in terms of its power level over time. It is actually, I might need to make another tier, because I actually do think it is actually, I think it's significantly less usable than Harbinger, actually. So I think having them in the same tier is actually a little bit weird, but yeah. Yeah. I'll think about that one. We might have to move it. Maybe I'm being too kind. Like, it's because it's the Chrono main in me, guys. Okay, I used to main Chrono. I'm like, oh, come on. Chrono, I feel like deserves A tier. You know, it deserves to be in there. So next up, let's see. Yeah, maybe we should move up Harbinger. Yeah, maybe we have to promote Harbinger and Chrono can stay where it is. Let's get some easy stuff out of the way. Copium tier is actually Tempest, and by the way, guys, I'm talking about my own Copium. This build is actually pretty good. It's not a bad build. I'm talking specifically about DPS Alacrity Tempest. Good build. Just the numbers aren't high enough on them, to be honest. The Alacrity is fine. It gives might and protection. It has some access to super speed. You have to trade some damage, but you can get the utility in there with Aegis and stability and super speed and so on. But the numbers aren't quite there. Stay tuned for next patch, though. I think actually your Copium might be rewarded with some pretty big buffs to Tempest. I think that this build is actually very naturally going to just get a lot better with the next patch, because they're making DPS Tempest significantly better. But yeah, I actually think that DPS like Tempest, pretty good, but it is definitely Copium tier for now. The Healed Tempest build, definitely, though, the superior option in this regard. But yeah, there you go. Stay tuned for the next patch, guys. Stay tuned for the next patch. And honestly, Copium tier is also Catalyst. You're like, this build honestly confuses me. I feel like it should be good. I look at it on paper and I go, it can do might, can do quickness, it can do fury, it can do protection. It's even got a little bit of free Aegis being spammed in there as well. But again, yeah, I just the numbers aren't there yet, and it's a bit awkward to play, to be honest. With the way that it operates, it's just like, it's not really quite there yet, to be honest. It ain't there yet, I'm afraid. It's getting there, to be honest, but no, not yet. Definitely needs some usability improvements. I think one of the issues is they tried to make it really cool by giving it Aegis on the Earth Orb when you put down the Earth Orb. Issue with that is that, one, you lost resistance, which, to be frank, was probably a mistake, actually. That was kind of a cool thing that it could do with some very high resistance uptime. But the other issue, and Tempest kind of suffers from this as well, is that a lot of its boon access is actually tied into having to rotate through elements, making it quite hard to be reactive, right? It's not ideal, right? It is absolutely not ideal whatsoever. One thing that you'll really notice about a lot of the top tier supports is they're quite reactive, with the exception notably of Specter, but certainly these big four here, very reactive. You can respond to things pretty effectively, and that's what really makes a good support. And both Tempest and Catalyst kind of struggle. With this, to be honest. Making it significantly weaker in my opinion. I think I need another tier. I need another tier in here, because I want a home for Renegade. Okay, here we go. This is pretty good tier, right? Now, Renegade is weird because it's very good in fractals, but overall, I think it is somewhat lacking. It's like absolute god tier in fractals. This is true. So if you're a fractal player, Renegade is god tier. But it's just pretty good tier, in my opinion, basically everywhere else. To be frank, it kind of got power crept. I'm not going to lie, guys. Essentially, what happened is this happened and this happened, right? Like, the other builds got better. And in particular, because it's an Alacrity build, it has to compete with Alacrity healers, right? And it turns out that right now, Alacrity healers are incredibly strong. And that devalues Alacrity DPS builds even further, especially ones that don't have very good boon access, right? Because the boon access on Specter and Mech is pretty solid. On Renegade, it's very limited, in my opinion, in what it can do. Like, it's pretty questionable. It does a lot of damage, though. It does do good DPS, to be honest, but it's pretty good tier. It is pretty good tier. Moving on, what else have we got? Oh yeah, not yet tier. Hey, that's all of the warrior specs. Get in there, right? Quickness warrior, or I don't know, Alacrity berserker, whatever they're gonna end up doing. Okay, you don't have a build yet. Okay, and honestly, I think there's a lot of potential with the warrior boon builds. I think banners with a few tweaks, again, if they split them into two, so you can pulse boons, then you have the active component, right? So you can actively use the Aegis, the barrier, the stability, the super speed. If it's active, then honestly, these will be very good. Seriously, I'm going to say this for warrior mains. Warrior mains. These builds are close. In a few tweaks, these can be really good, in my opinion. They can actually be very nice, but with a few tweaks, but it's not there yet, and that's why it is not yet tier. Ooh, and I did forget, one more tier is needed. Unlucky tier. Unlucky tier, guys. And I think we already know what's going there. It is, it's gonna be Untamed. Okay, Untamed, unlucky tier. It got deleted this patch. Fervent Force got nerfed, which essentially turned this build from really, really fun to really, really not that good. Very quickly. Oh no, that's unfortunate. But I think they changed Fervent Force, basically made it significantly weaker. It went from every crowd control effect you land reduces all your cooldowns by 4 seconds down to 3 seconds. That's a big deal because, of course, they kind of chain together, right? That, it accelerates the cooldown of all your other CC skills, which you can then spam even harder to reduce your cooldowns even harder, right? So a 1 second nerf there was huge. It was absolutely colossal. It nuked the build, right? And the DPS build too. However, the fact that they've changed it really does indicate to me that they're going to actually rework it. I would expect reworks to Untamed coming with the next patch. So whatever direction it's going to go, I think it is going to be reworked. And Willbender, I think that's our final. Oh, I have to do Mirage as well. Oh, I always struggle to rate Mirage. I'm dreading it. That's why I'm doing it last, because I always dread it. It's such a weird build, to be honest. Willbender is Copium tier. There it is. I said it, guys. Alacrity Willbender, Copium tier. Actually, is it Copium tier? I don't know. But is it maybe not? Is it? It's like, it's either here or here, you know? So, Alac Willbender has a lot of issues. So, number one, and I think this is actually the most egregious one, and Mesmer suffers from this a little bit as well. So, this is why I'm kind of tempted to, like, demote Chrono a little bit. In fact, I think I will. Because you can't give Alacrity unless you're attacking something, right? You need to be hitting stuff to generate a lack. And this is weird. And Willbender also kind of lacks additional boon support. It's quite inflexible. And its damage got nerfed. And here's the issue, is that I can definitely see it basically being Alacrity Harbinger. So it kind of being like the opposite number to Harbinger. This like glass cannon, right? Alacrity build, right? That to me makes sense. I think we could see that happen. Full deep, massive DPS, but it got nerfed. So, unlucky. So, and it's still got a few playability issues around it that I think need to be ironed out before we can really see this build get developed. But certainly has potential. The game has shown us, with Harbinger being good now, and Quickness Harbinger being a really nice build, the game has shown us there is room for a glass cannon boon support build. And Willbender can be that for Alacrity, 100%. It doesn't need to have boons, I don't think. I think it can do well on its own, especially because of how good healers are. You simply compensate for the lower amount of boons by having the healing. So just slap a bunch of damage on this, and honestly, fix some of the playability issues, and you're in business. Finally, we have Mirage. Mirage, in a lot of ways, it is weird tier, I think. It is a weird build. It kind of deserves its own tier, because Mirage, I think, is just very good. I think I might put it... I'm very tempted to kind of put it in A tier. Because on Confusion bosses and bosses where Mirage really shines, it is busted tier, right? Like, it is Omega insane tier in certain situations, right? But in other situations, it's just like, it's pretty good. It's like pretty okay. I would say it's somewhat comparable to Harbinger in a lot of ways. It does good damage, gives 25 might, which is not as valuable as it used to be, but it's definitely still valuable. I feel like it's not quite as good as the S tier stuff. It's not quite as good as that, in my opinion. I think I'm gonna put Mirage in A tier for now, but with the big caveat that, again, it is extremely good situationally, right? On certain encounters, I think it's very good in open world, not only because it's a fantastic build for being self-sufficient, which, you know, in open world can be useful. Also, giving might in open world is very good. However, it does fall down a little bit in some of its peripheral boon support to allies. It can give itself a lot of boons with the Chaos trait line, and it can give stability and so on pretty effectively using some mantras, but I don't think it's quite the awe-inspiring power of the S-tier classes, I think. But yeah, that is what I would say. Alacrity Soul Beast is not a thing, okay? Why? We're not pretending that it is. Alac Soul Beast is not real. You know, is it in the room with us now? Okay, I don't see it. But anyway. Anyway. Oh, stay tuned for Quickness Deadeye, huh? Oh, that's gonna be good. That's gonna be good content, guys. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah. But hey, that's next patch. Quickness Deadeye, guys. Yes, very good. But I think that's going to about wrap it up. I do think that weirdly enough, if you take a look at the old tier list, maybe we can even show like some of the old ones on stream right now, get the editor on that. I think you'll see is that it is getting better, right? Like, it's creeping together. And in particular, I would actually really highlight this stuff. I would say the difference between God tier and A tier is actually fairly minimal. And this is why I kind of got rid of B tier here, because I think that the game is getting close together. We certainly need to see some outliers addressed. For example, I would say that all this stuff here definitely needs some work, but over time, we are getting more builds brought up to that same power level, and I think that's what we're talking about. We saw Harbinger get brought up. We saw Scrapper get brought up, right? Firebrand got brought down, right, as well, to a more sensible level, so there wasn't such this massive gap, right? And I think that's worth noting. The game is, we're getting there, right? One patch at a time, we are squishing things together at this top end, and I certainly expect to see a few more of these kind of climb their way up over the next couple of patches. So yeah, that's it for offensive supports. Very powerful builds. I would say pretty much the most powerful builds in the game, the most powerful role, pound for pound, outside of maybe healers. Healers are powerful, but in a different way, but these are insane value. The highest value builds are our offensive supports. But yep, that's that tier list. Done. Boom. And you know what? I'm feeling confident about that as well. Normally I'm like, it's all wrong. It's all gone horribly wrong. But not this time. This time, it's locked in. This is the objective truth, my friends. There's no way around it, okay? It's 100% true. You know, nah, I'm kidding. All right, next.